BC News.
News Talk 610 AM and 102.1 FM. KVNU.
KVNU News Time is 4:05. I'm Bill Walter with this news update brought to you by the Duck Hunter. Last night, Utah State University celebrated its 134th commencement with what is likely the shortest such event in school history. The virtual 40-minute evening featured comments from both President Noel Cockett and USU alumna and honorary degree recipient Julie Robinson, plus brief remarks from honorary degree recipients Karen Morris and Linda Daines. Honorary degree recipient Julie Robinson, who works for NASA as chief scientist for human exploration, told graduates how the words of one USU professor changed her life.
As I looked at what to do next, I spoke with Dr. Joseph Morse, head of the honors program and a chemistry professor. I told him I was interested in research in graduate school eventually, but I was exhausted. I thought maybe I should take a few years off and find a less stressful job. He looked at me with great seriousness and said, "Julie, you could do that, but it would be a terrible loss to science. Don't lose your momentum now."
The evening also included a listing of faculty award recipients and student citizenship award winners. USU commencement continues with smaller 60-minute convocations, 9 of them on Thursday, nine of them today, 6 on Friday. Those will take place in the D. Glenn Smith Spectrum or the Danes Concert Hall. During the week, almost 6,800 people will receive 7,250 degrees. Expected to participate are 5,600 undergraduates and 1,200 graduate students. Those eligible to walk this week include anyone who graduated in summer 2020, winter 2020, or spring of this year. Close to 58% of this year's USU graduates are female. KVNU News Time is 4:07. KVNU weather for tonight. Partly cloudy, warmer overnight, low in the upper 40s. And then a slight chance of showers and thunderstorms in the afternoon tomorrow. High in the upper 70s, a 40% chance of showers on Friday night. Overnight, mid-30s, sunny to partly cloudy, much cooler Saturday, upper 50s for the high. It's warmed up to 81. That's what it is right now, 81 degrees at KVNU. KVNU weather brought to you by Cache Valley Pharmacy. They've been doing pharmacy better than anyone else in the valley with free delivery valley-wide for the last 19 years. Cache Valley Pharmacy, the pharmacy delivery experts. Order your prescription online at cachevalleypharmacy.com.
Did you just build a home or remodel your current home? Well, if so, John at the Duck Hunter says you should have your heating ducts cleaned as soon as possible and change out to a high-quality furnace filter. The dust from construction, sawdust, drywall, and more is sitting in your ductwork. Your furnace filter is probably clogged. You'd be surprised what John has found in air ducts, toys, construction debris, and rodents. Let the Duck Hunter clean the ducts today. Call for a free consultation. The Duck Hunter, 770-4813.
We are the Duck Hunter. Breathe better, save money, protect your home. We are the Duck Hunter.
KVNU News Time is 4:08. A family's dog is back with them after a Logan City police officer stepped into the Logan River to rescue the stranded pup. According to a video on the Logan City Police Department's Facebook page, Officer Larson took off his boots and walked into the cold river so he could get to the dog with a snare pole. In the video, the pup resists at first as Larson slowly moves the dog closer to the shore. The dog's young owners were standing on the riverbank and can be heard encouraging the pup back to shore.
You might want to grab it by 2 hands. He's a hard fellow. Come on, please.
Well, the dog made it out of the river safely, and police said the dog was successfully returned to its owner and did not have any obvious injuries. And as ABC News reported at 4 o'clock, authorities say a shooting at an eastern Idaho middle school has injured 2 students and a custodian, and a male student has been taken into custody. The Jefferson County Sheriff says the victim's injuries are not believed to be life-threatening. Police were called to the school around 9:15 this morning. Multiple law enforcement agencies were on scene. Students were evacuated to a nearby high school in the small city of Rigby, which is about 95 miles southwest of Yellowstone National Park. The attack appears to be Idaho's second school shooting. KVNU News Time is 4:10. For more details on these and other stories, visit CacheValleyDaily.com.
Breaking news and stimulating talk. KVNU 610 AM and 102.1 FM.
As spring arrives, you may notice that your concrete has settled or shifted. Polylift Concrete Raising and Piering provides the best concrete fixing solutions in the market, and they'll get to the bottom of the issue guaranteed. Their deep foam injection solution is more affordable and takes effect more quickly than competing methods as it stabilizes your concrete to ensure it doesn't resettle. Visit poly-lift.com to receive your free estimate. That's poly-lift.com. Polylift is locally owned and operated.
If you are looking to build or remodel, go with a company who works with the top custom builders in northern Utah. Chim Chimney offers an array of units from Fireplace Extraordinaire, including the highest heat output options if you want significant heating potential. Or you can go with the entry-level Pro Builder series. Whatever model you choose, Chim Chimney will work alongside you from planning to installation to move-in ready. That's Chim Chimney in Logan and Brigham City. We sell, service, and install Lopi. Visit us at chimchimney.com.
I think it's just vapor.
Vaping is safer than smoking, isn't it?
There's really not even that much nicotine in them, right?
One vape pod has as much nicotine as one pack of cigarettes.
My kid
knows it's dangerous.
5.4 million American kids vape, and most think it's harmless. Get your head out of the cloud. Talk to your kid about vaping. Visit talkaboutvaping.org. That's talkaboutvaping.org. Brought to you by the American Lung Association and the Ad Council.
Looking for ways to serve but don't know where to begin? Go to justserve.org, a free site to help those who want to serve find opportunities nearby. Just Serve has teamed up with organizations nationwide. Go to justserve.org and type in your city, and you'll see a list of service opportunities. Sign up on Just Serve to receive emails letting you know about new projects. Just Serve is fast, free, and easy. JustServe.org is provided as a service by The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
For the people.
We are waiting with bated breath for news from the Cache Republican Party meeting an executive committee tonight.
With Jason Williams.
And I'm really excited about this next segment. We have two guests here in studio. We're going to talk about something that we've talked about many times here on the show, but from a bit of a different angle.
Weekday afternoons from 4 till 6 on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102 FM.
Welcome to KVNU's For the People. It is Thursday, May 6th. I'm Jason Williams, Bill Walter here in the studio as well, and thank you for tuning in today. Quite a show lined up for you. We'll be checking in with our friends at the Utah Women in Leadership Project. This is a study effort running under the John M. Huntsman School of Business at Utah State University. And they, through their research, have delved into everything from women in government to women in the workplace, how women have been affected by the pandemic, why men should be more concerned about how women are treated in the workplace. All of that through research coming out of the Utah Women in Leadership Project. And they have some new stuff out this week, but also they have a whole slew of events planned through May. Dr. Susan Madsen, director of the Utah Women in Leadership Project at Utah State University's School of Business, will be joining us later on in the show. You can feel it around the corner. You can see it, at least for now. Fingers crossed it stays that way in the daily reports from the Coronavirus Task Force, as we heard earlier today from the governor's task force. Things still holding steady in Utah as far as spread of the virus. That's good. It's low. Could get lower. And it's going to be up to us all, and us all taking personal responsibility, the governor said, with most of the state restrictions now lifted at this point. Governor said it is all on us at this point to get vaccinated, continue to slow the spread of the virus, and inch closer to getting back to normal. The faster, the better, the governor said. I couldn't agree more. You can watch that entire press conference on the governor's Facebook page, but good news, at least, as far as vaccination rates. Starting to taper off a bit, though they think when we're able to get to the younger population here in Utah, which is a big part of our population here in Utah, those numbers will go back up again as far as daily total of vaccinations. still hoping and optimistic, the governor said, that we can hit that 70% herd immunity through vaccines rather than the other way by June. So fingers crossed that the governor knows what he's talking about. This is a good time to talk about what's happening with this sense of getting back to normal around the corner. The weather great. For weeks now, been excited about just checking out some of the community calendars, some of the event calendars. We've got one here at CacheValleyDaily.com, and just a lot going on. So we reached out to our friend Wendi Hassan, who will be joining us in a few minutes from the Cache Valley Center for the Arts to talk about exactly that. What's happening as far as the theaters over the next few weeks and months? What can we expect to come back? And what can we expect to still be on hold a bit longer after a summer of very little for the arts last year? This summer stacking up to be the exact opposite, making up for lost time. Wendi Hassan joins us in just a few minutes here on For the People. Before we get to that, though, a listener shot in an email and said, check this out. You've all heard it. The myth. You should drink 8-ounce glasses of water per day. Listener sends in this article from Mental Floss where the journalists at Mental Floss, this is kind of a trivia news site, some really fun stuff there. They did some digging on some of the big and most pernicious food myths from livestock is bad for the environment. That's actually a myth, believe it or not. What's actually bad for the environment are factory farms. Livestock themselves, if our meat production was done more so the way it used to be through smaller family farms and local farms, would not be bad for the environment at all. A recipe needs to be followed precisely. This is something that is pushed out there by chefs and authors of recipe books, but this has never, ever been the case when it comes to good food. And Twinkies last forever, another pernicious myth. This is absolutely not true. Twinkies are shelf-stable for a long time, about 50 days, but they can get pretty full of fungus after that, as any food can. Specifically, though, to this listener's question about the drink 8-ounce glasses of water per day myth, I did some digging myself. The Mental Floss article is right. In fact, according to the 1945 U.S. Food and Nutrition Board, the amount of scientific evidence, this, by the way, has not been contradicted since with any research, scientific evidence supporting the theory that adults need 64 ounces of water per day is an unproven theory. The actual number varies for men to women, lifestyle, diet, what you've eaten the day before, what you've eaten that day. And basically the good general rule, if you're thirsty, drink and try to think more often about drinking water. Walking in water, in fact, one doctor says, are the two most important things you can do to maintain your health as you age. But 8-ounce glasses a day, probably not many people actually need that much. Check it out. A listener sent this along, the most common and pernicious food myths fully debunked. I've linked to it on our Facebook page. On the other side, we'll be talking about the arts. What can you expect in the coming weeks and months from Cache Valley's art community? Cache Valley Center for the Arts' Wendi Hassan joins us right after this to answer that question.
Daryl's Appliance is celebrating Mother's Day this weekend. Stop by and pick out an appliance and they'll give you a free flower for Mother's Day. You always have the best selection of name brand appliances at Daryl's, including Maytag, Whirlpool, Speed Queen, and more. And you can always be rest assured that you'll be taken care of after the sale. Daryl's service team is the best in the valley. Come get a new appliance and a flower for Mom this weekend at Daryl's Appliance, where service always comes first. Daryl's, west on Airport Road.
This Mother's Day, surprise Mom with dinner for two and a piece of jewelry from S.E. Needham Jewelers. Choose from a large selection of pearls, silver, gemstone, and diamond jewelry. Or you may find something special for her in our family jewelry collections. With Mother's Day upon us this Sunday, maybe an S.E. Needham gift card would make a timely gift. With a purchase of $149 or more, you'll receive dinner for two. Come shop today for the people and occasions that matter most. S.E. Needham Jewelers, middle of the block at the sign of the clock.
Vicky, how you doing? How's the knee?
It's coming along, doctor, but still some soreness.
Well, let's see. This soon after surgery, some pain is pretty normal.
I was hoping to get more painkillers. The first round worked great.
We're being very careful with those now. Prescription painkillers are opioids, same as heroin. It's easy to start taking them, not so easy to stop.
Last year in America, an average of 40 people died from opioid abuse every day. Long-term addiction has become America's newest health epidemic.
So no pills?
Vicky, you're doing great. So let's try these anti-inflammatories, plus your physical therapy. If the soreness doesn't continue to get better, give me a call.
For opioids, the smaller the dose prescribed and taken, the better. Because even a few prescription painkillers can sometimes go a long, wrong way. A message from the American Academy of Orthopedic Surgeons and the Orthopedic Trauma Association. Visit orthoinfo.org/prescription safety.
The Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council present the story of Tom and Levi.
Tom is the smartest man I know. He's been a professor at 2 major universities, been a teacher for over 40 years. One day, he told me that he was having problems in his classes. I think one of the students had asked the question and he didn't remember the answer. And I also noticed that he was letting his class out earlier than they were supposed to let out. And he was telling them that he was doing it as a favor to them, but I think in reality, he just wanted to get out of there. I was really starting to worry because I saw something was wrong.
Levi and I talked about how it would change our lives, but he was there beside me, and my love for him was just immense.
When something feels different, it could be Alzheimer's. Now is the time to talk. Visit alz.org/ourstories to learn more. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to KVN News for the People. Beautiful weather, great news all around on, well, I mean, as great as could be possible. Much better than this time last year news, let's put it that way, on the pandemic, vaccination rates, though slowing down a bit, as the governor has said. They think that will turn around as soon as we're vaccinating the younger folks, which all good news as far as the end in sight for this pandemic that has taken now close to 14 months from all of our lives in one way or another. And here on the show, we've been spending a lot of time focusing on what's happening, what's coming down the pike. Are we going to have a normal summer, or at least a normal-ish summer? All signs point to yes, tentatively at this point, but we're talking about it anyway as a way of keeping us all on our toes and positive. Joining us right now, Executive Director at the Cache Valley Center for the Arts, Wendi Hassan. And Wendi, appreciate you taking some time for KVNU today. When I think about what's going on, what's coming, what might be happening mid to late summer, you were one of the first people I thought of because you're kind of right at the center of it, right?
We are the center of the arts, right? So we're at the center of all things happening. It's wonderful. We have a front row seat, so to speak.
Sure. And soon the rest of us will have the opportunity for that as well. The arts were hit particularly hard over the last year. Movie theaters were open, though there really weren't any movies coming. Theaters, for the most part, though, had a harder time of it. Many were able to find a way to open a bit. But we're now looking at, within weeks or at most months, just being able to fill those seats safely with some distance and masking and all of that. And that means people are starting to put stuff on the calendars, right?
Absolutely. And it's getting to the point again where, like, what we normally think of in Cache Valley as I have to pick between 4 or 5 things because there's 4 or 5 theaters and it gets difficult to choose. And we're starting to see little signs of that coming back, which just feels wonderful.
This is it's so nice to hear, honestly. I know so many people have told us over the last year this is what they miss the most. And it really, one silver lining, it's made everyone appreciate how spoiled we are when it comes to the arts here in Cache Valley. Not many areas can boast the resources we have, the opportunities we have on the average weekend. And not being able to do any of that for a year was a good reminder. So what are you hearing from the theater companies, from the theaters themselves, from the calendars you see slowly starting to be repopulated? Are we ready for a kickoff?
Things are starting to percolate back, and it's already begun. So even this weekend, you have Matilda in the Ellen Eccles Theater. You've got the Cash Symphony doing a spring concert at Logan High School. You have events happening at the Cache Valley Event Center now. Not all those are arts, but there's an amazing dog show coming in May. So, I mean, keep that on your radar, too. So you're starting to see all of the companies beginning to plan. All of our fabulous summer companies are beginning to announce their seasons. Some of them may be a little bit reduced. We may not be able to get as quickly to what you're able to do outdoors in terms of getting rid of some of the protocols, but we are actually actively working. And the Matilda show this weekend, there's more than 450 folk in each show. So we are far ahead of much of the rest of the country in what we've already been able to do with the arts returning.
This is welcome news, to say the least. And
feel good.
It does. It all went away so fast. And Wendi, I've spoken with so many people who said they had tickets to this or that, and they've sat on them hoping for a reschedule and things like that. For those out there that maybe wouldn't be comfortable going back into a seat yet, are there ways for folks to support the arts here in Cache Valley, even if maybe they're holding off for a bit themselves on going out?
There are so many ways. Now, some of us are able to stream things, so you might be able to capture things virtually. We haven't seen a lot of people take that up because they're kind of tired of looking at a screen. But you can buy gift certificates for something in the future. You can hang on to those tickets if that concert hasn't come. I know you're holding on to some stuff, Jason.
I am. I'm sitting on more than a few.
We have patrons who've been holding on to Sons of the Pioneers tickets for a year and a half now, hoping to get that rescheduled for this fall. Actually, it is rescheduled. We're just hoping it comes through.
Sure.
You can buy an empty seat, because a lot of us still can't fill every seat. And Cache Valley Bank has done that for a couple of our shows where they know we can't fill everything. So they've come in and actually made up the difference so we can operate before it makes economic sense. These things are amazing things that you can do. You can buy art from Utah artists. There's never been a better time to support our living, working artists who don't usually exhibit here. They usually exhibit in Scottsdale and Vail and all these glamorous places, and then they work and paint our landscapes.
This is honestly just fascinating to see how artists have responded and kept themselves going through all of this. There has to be excitement on that side as well. The artists, the theater owners, the production companies, they have to be just so ready to get something back out there, right?
They've been so creative, and they've been so gracious. For the beginning of our return, we did these little community concerts called Random Acts. Few people in our 1,100-seat space. And some of them would call us, make the arrangements, hang up, call us back and say, we're just so excited to come back. We just had to tell you. We're just so excited to come back. Matilda's a good example of this. They actually were 3 weeks from their opening last year when everything shut down. So they brought back essentially the same cast. But imagine, most of that cast are kids. Some of them grew. Some of their voices changed. Some of the kids had to be recast as adults. All kinds of things mess with that, and you get a sense of that passage of time from when you conceived a project and when you were actually able to do it.
This is, fun to even think about. And you said the calendars are starting to repopulate. You mentioned some events happening right now. But throughout I'm looking at a calendar here throughout the month of May and into June. There's quite a bit going on.
There's quite a bit. Today is Cinco de Mayo, right? Head over to Willow Park. There's a Cinco de Mayo festival. All of the community festivals are starting to think about whether they'll come back, whether it's Black and White Days, Sauerkraut Days, Trout and Berry Days. Keep your eyes out for those. 4th of July celebrations, I'm hoping, will be trickling back. We've, of course, got Matilda this weekend. The Gardeners Market starts up this weekend. The market on Center Street will be starting up on May 12th. Then we have this amazing Music of Andrew Lloyd Webber concert that they are bringing from Salt Lake, which was created to reopen the Eccles in Salt Lake. And it will be here to celebrate the 125th anniversary of Utah's statehood on the 21st and 22nd of May. Then you've got lyric, you've got opera, you've got a couple shows in the Eccles, and you've got Pickleville coming back. Noon Music at the Tabernacle will be happening at the Tabernacle this summer. Summerfest, Father's Day weekend. It goes on and on and on. And you have a great community calendar, so people should check out your community calendar and explorelogan.com to find out about stuff as it is announced.
Sure. And thankfully, it is being announced. This is, it's been a tough year. It's left a lot of folks antsy and with cabin fever, but it's also left a lot of artists and theater companies just struggling, and they've held on for the most part. When it comes to getting back into the theaters, Wendi, I know you guys there at the Cash Center for the Arts have made it as easy as possible, sort of a one-stop shopping approach to everything going on in town. Tell people where they can start.
Absolutely. So like I said, explorelogan.com has, from the Visitors Bureau, has a great list of calendar items, as do you. We have a Cache Valley Arts Directory. So if you're looking for an individual artist or you want to audition for something, it's just at cachearts.org/art-directory. And we have stuff that doesn't happen here, anything we can find out about in the Valley that's going on. So it's time to start thinking about how and where you feel comfortable re-engaging.
Sure. And there are plenty of opportunities for you to explore that. As Wendi mentioned, some happening now, some coming up in a matter of weeks, going into June and July. Events on the calendar already, from the music of Andrew Lloyd Webber to Matilda happening as well. And the Cache Arts Facebook page, I found, is a great resource for listeners out there who want to stay up on this. Just find them on Facebook, Cache Arts, the Cache Valley Center for the Arts. Links to everything happening and some fun stuff going on even for kids. As Wendy's already mentioned, the Logan Youth Shakespeare Summer Class underway soon, and just scrolling and scrolling and scrolling through all of these events. It's an exciting time, and I think for listeners, for me personally, Wendi, it's a pleasure to speak with you and be talking about things to do again.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And we really appreciate everyone's patience as we come back. You know, the state's lifted some mandates. We're going to have to hold on to masks a little bit longer because our houses are so big, thank goodness. And we have a lot of kids in the audience that don't have their shots yet. So as we come back, we appreciate your patience and everyone's kindness in getting what we need done to get back.
Oh, glad you're there and glad they're there to offer it up in the first place. Minor inconveniences, masks, some social distancing, but appreciate the fact that the theaters are open. There are events underway. The calendars are filling up, and normal is just around the corner.
Yes.
Thank you again to our guest, Wendi Hassan, Executive Director of the Cache Valley Center for the Arts. Again, you can find them online, various places, via their website. I've linked to that on our Facebook page, or find them on Facebook, the Cache Valley Center for the Arts. A simple search on Facebook, or look for facebook.com/Cache Arts. Our guest again has been Executive Director of the Cache Valley Center for the Arts, Wendi Hassan, and we'll be back with more of For the People after the news with KVNU's Bill Walter.
Thank you, Jason. KVNU News Time is 4:33, and the news is brought to you by CBD7. The Utah Supreme Court has affirmed the right of transgender people to change their sex designation on birth certificates. Today's ruling came as a bright spot for advocates amid a wave of legislation targeting transgender people around the country. Several states have passed bills banning transgender youth from sports teams that match their gender identity, and one has blocked gender-confirming health care for youth. Every U.S. state except Tennessee allows people to change their gender markers on birth certificates, though Montana lawmakers this year added a requirement for people to have surgery beforehand. Troy Williams with the group Equality Utah called the ruling a landmark decision. Authorities say an Allegiant Air jet has returned safely to Los Angeles International Airport after the crew reported striking a bird. FAA spokesman Ian Greger says the Airbus A319 landed without incident this morning at 7:44 a.m. Allegiant Air spokeswoman Hillary Gray says the jet was on its way to Provo and experienced a bird strike to its number 2 engine shortly after takeoff and returned to the airport for an inspection and an assessment. Gray says the aircraft did land safely and taxied under its own power to the gate, where passengers got off normally. Another jet was dispatched to take the passengers to Provo. And a new study in Census Bureau data shows U.S. residents moved out of the nation's largest metropolitan areas and into smaller ones during the pandemic. The data released this week shows increased declines in the nation's densest metros and gains in small cities in the Sun Belt and West. The study found that many COVID-year migrants were not driven by jobs, weather, or even virus fears. Instead, they were motivated by a desire to be closer to family and a new freedom to make it happen because of remote working. The data adds to understanding of how the pandemic has changed where and how Americans live. KBNU News Time is 4:35.
People tell us CBD7 has changed their lives and the lives of their pets. Pets also have pain, anxiety, arthritis, old age, and other health issues. Love your furry family members? Don't waste money or settle for ineffective oil-based CBDs that taste terrible. CBD7 has the only clinically proven full-spectrum water-soluble formula with award-winning taste. Want CBD that works? CBD7 supports the best health for all your family members, including pets. Come in, learn about CBD, and try healthy, natural, safe CBD7 for free.
KBNU weather for tonight, partly cloudy skies, warmer overnight, low in the upper 40s, and then a slight chance of showers and thunderstorms in the afternoon on Friday, partly cloudy, upper 70s. Chance of rain showers, slight chance of thunderstorms Friday evening. Saturday, sunny to partly cloudy, much cooler, high temperature in the upper 50s. But plenty warm today. 82 has been our high. It's 82 degrees right now at KBNU. KBNU weather brought to you by Stevens Forest Products. Pick up flagstone for walkways and patios. 7 color choices. Buy a few pieces or a pallet with delivery options available. Stevens Forest Products, 3277 North Main. For more details on these and other stories, visit CashValleyDaily.com. Let's check Wall Street now with Edward Jones.
This is Branch Office Administrator Monique Benson bringing you the daily financial market report for May 6th on behalf of Financial Advisor Daryl Arnell and Edward Jones. Trends in the labor market remain in focus this week with a highly anticipated April jobs report scheduled for tomorrow, expected to show over 1 million payroll gains. Applications for state unemployment benefits released this morning fell below 500,000 for the first time since the pandemic started. While this data is volatile on a weekly basis, the rolling 4-week average has declined steadily since the beginning of April, showing a clear trend of improvement as the economy gradually opens and restrictions are lifted. The Dow closed up 318 points at 34,549. The Nasdaq closed up 50 points at 13,633. And the S&P 500 closed up 34 points at 4,202. In stocks of local interest, Home Depot was up $5.53 to $337.58. Lowe's Companies was up $5.94 to $205.94. Nucor was up $2.86 to $95.69. R.R. Donnelley & Sons was down 15 cents to $4.39. Thermo Fisher was up $2.37 to $470.14. Northrop Grumman was down $2.94 to $370.05. In commodity markets, the price of crude oil was down 80 cents to $64.83, and the spot price of gold was up $30 to $1,814.30. This has been the Financial Market Report for May 6th, brought to you on behalf of Edward Jones, member SIPC. serving individual investors with personalized attention and financial advice with offices in Providence, Logan, and Smithfield. Daily commentary is also located on our website at edwardjones.com.
Welcome back to KVN News for the People. Last weekend, as you may have heard, the Utah Republican Party met in their annual organizing convention. Some national headlines made during the event, mainly due to some delegates booing Mitt Romney during his part of the federal delegation's set of presentations. Later in the day, though, the effort to censure Romney that was sponsored by a Davis County delegate, Don Guyman, and former state party leadership member Phil Wright, failed at a vote wrapping up the convention Saturday. And so the effort to censure Romney for his vote to impeach former President Donald Trump, that censure vote did not pass. But the booing and the video of the booing made national headlines. We talked earlier in the week about a Utah State Representative, Republican Representative Candace Pierucci, who appeared on CNN saying she was disappointed by the booing, but she felt that the booing was coming from an older crowd, and pointed out that everyone elected into leadership during the same convention was younger and not a part of the booing crowd, at least from her perspective from the convention floor that day. So that's where things stood, but a lot of things got overshadowed by all of this. One of those was exactly that Representative Pierucci mentioned, that this is the youngest set of Utah GOP leadership elected ever. And they're all millennials. Now, that doesn't mean a lot. These days, millennials can be in their early 40s, but still a very young group of people coming in, and also an upset of sorts. Every person elected to a leadership post, treasurer, secretary, vice chair, and chair, was an upset. These were the candidates not endorsed by big-name Republicans in the state. Everyone from the governor to Senator Mike Lee, former Congressman Rob Bishop, had all endorsed candidates for chair. And it was sort of the conventional wisdom that one of the candidates was the next in line, I guess. And he did not win. Instead, a sheep rancher from central Utah named Casey won. That is, I mean, you can read whatever you want into this, but not that there's anything wrong with the name Casey, by the way. I just think it's a cool name. This is Jorgensen, his last name. This is something that a lot of people are trying to parse right now. I've spoken with former Republican county chairs, current chairs, longtime Republican delegates, and I've asked them all, what do you think about this? Was a message being sent? Was it just the winds of the day? And opinions are all across the board. But one delegate did tell me that she felt this was still an ongoing response to the Chair James Evans years. And if you remember, those were, well, the most striking result of the Chairman James Evans years in the Utah Republican Party is that in Utah, second reddest state in the nation, well, maybe third reddest at this point. I haven't checked in on that in a while, but still very red state. Solid Republican area, to say the least, outside of Salt Lake County at least, and kind of purplish there in Weber County. Still, the majority of the state votes for Republicans in general elections without question, and supports the Republican agenda, the Republican Party platform, all of that. And yet, when James Evans was chair, somehow the Republican Party in Utah was nearly bankrupt, mainly due to persistent lawsuits against an election law passed by the state legislature, creating a dual route to the ballot for candidates in Utah. Some Republicans, delegates, and members of the Central Committee, this is still a thorn in their side. They feel that it takes their power away, as a caucus convention system for nominating candidates gives all of the power for candidate nominations to delegates and Central Committee members and leadership in ways. The dual route allows for candidates to just appeal to registered Republicans throughout the state. People point to Mitt Romney, for example, Senator Mitt Romney's lack of popularity in the caucus convention system on display on Saturday with these 2,000-ish delegates. And yet Romney won his election in Utah by 30% when he was tested by rank-and-file registered Republicans, not Republican Party delegates. So those are basically the two schools of thought, and they've been warring since 2014, and those lawsuits cost the state party a lot of money. When James Evans left the chair position, the party was in trouble. I always forget Rob Anderson. He was there for 2 years. He tried, but he had attracted some controversy, no fault of his own, and he did a good job of turning the party in a better direction financially, but not as successful as he wanted to be. So he served only one term. Derek Brown comes in without the controversy, which was kind of concocted around Anderson, and Brown just takes it and runs with it. And he has the party in a really good position in a lot of different ways, but also kind of behind the scenes, Brown, I think, stepped up the game on candidate recruitment, saying once in an interview right here on our show that he felt the Republican Party had gotten a little lazy in their candidate recruitment. It being such a given that Republicans would win elections in Utah, he felt the party wasn't putting a lot of effort into recruiting the best of the best for candidates. And Brown wanted to look to a day, sometime in the far distant future probably, when Utah's purple or even leaning blue in areas out larger than Salt Lake County and that purplish area in Weber County. He said, we need to be competitive. We need to plan for a day when we actually have to compete. And he felt the party wasn't doing that. So Brown also stepped that up as chairman of the party over his time. And that was recognized on Saturday. Something overshadowed by all the coverage of the booing of Mitt Romney was a presentation given by Utah's entire federal delegation, Senator Mike Lee, Senator Romney, Congressman Owens, Curtis, and Stewart on hand. And Blake Moore there as well. And they basically presented a tribute to outgoing Chairman Derek Brown. And here's just a bit of that from Saturday's convention.
This, of course, has not been without toil and not without a lot of input from a lot of people. So we've, as a federal delegation, come together. We just want to give some things to our party leadership. Let's start with Derek. Derek Brown is just a fantastic chairman, and we are so proud of him and all that he's done. If everyone in our party could be like Derek. The thing about Derek is he's a high-yield, low-maintenance leader. Prepared and framed this certificate of appreciation for Derek Brown, and we've got some lovely flowers for Emily Brown, who, as First Lady of our state party, has carried and shouldered a lot of this burden, as have their children. So.
That was, again, Senator Mike Lee speaking to the leadership of Chairman Derek Brown, at the time outgoing. The leadership elections had not taken place yet. And Derek Brown honored with a certificate of appreciation, flowers for the entire family. And Senator Lee explained a bit why they felt that honoring Derek Brown, something not traditionally done for an outgoing chair, was warranted.
And I verified they were actually hoisted on a flag rather than being put on a C-130 and flown over the top of the building. We've got a certificate of authenticity on that point. We've also got gifts and certificates of appreciation in addition to those going to Derek and his family. Also for Robert Axon, our vice chair. Thank you, Robert. Kendra Seeley and for Mike Berg. Thanks to all of you for making our party what it is, and thanks to our great leadership for getting our party through these difficult times. Thanks.
That was, again, Senator Mike Lee representing the entire federal delegation on stage there with him, Senator Romney, and all of our congressional representatives presenting a certificate of appreciation to Derek Brown for digging the party out of what was surprisingly a bad spot in Utah that had lingered for years. And as Senator Mike Lee said, Derek shouldered the burden and leaves the party in, he said in his final remarks, a better state than it was when he came into the leadership position. And finally, that chair race itself that ran on Saturday, again with a surprise upset. Stuart PA was the assumed winner, I think, for most Republican Party insiders. Most of the lawmakers I'd spoken with felt that way as well. He had endorsements from, almost every big name player in the party, but he was not successful. In the first round of voting, Tina Cannon and others were out, narrowing it down to Stuart PA and Carson Jorgensen. Carson was considered a long shot. He is a sheep rancher from the central Utah area, had not been very prominent in GOP circles until in 2018 he ran as one of several candidates challenging, several candidates challenging from the right, challenging Representative Chris Stewart. And Jorgensen ran a campaign accusing Stewart of being a secret Democrat, which is strange if you ever followed Congressman Stewart's votes and commentary in the media. He's about as far right as you can get in the United States Congress, at least. But that was his campaign. It wasn't successful, and he later, I said that he kind of apologized for some of the things he said about Stewart during the race. Still, he was successful on Saturday at nabbing the nomination from delegates into that party chairman role through a vote. After the convention, during the convention, Carson spoke to his background, and he said, this isn't my thing. This isn't what I do. I'd actually rather be out herding sheep. And, there was a lot of laughter, but he said, no, I mean it. He got a little choked up as well, talking about what he thought were the challenges of the party when it comes to younger people, when it comes to stepping away from some of these hot-button cultural issues that have worked well as fundraising issues, but he said actually drive people out of the party. It was an interesting take. His speech was short, and I think even then everyone watching thought, well, this guy's done. The Stuart PA giving more of a traditional leadership speech. And then the voting happened. And by round two, it was clear Carson Jorgensen would be the next chair of the Utah Republican Party. After the convention, he held a very brief press briefing, made about a minute's worth of comments. And, here they are.
It is the American dream, and that's what this country was really founded on. And we start to push that and tell them, you know what? You can be whatever you want to be, and these are the principles that will take you there. These people will resonate to that.
Thank you. Carson, you said earlier you'd rather be herding sheep. You still rather be herding sheep right now?
Definitely right now. No, it's the country lifestyle, the lifestyle that my family has lived for the last 150 years is near and dear to my heart. And I love it. And it represents everything that's good. My grandpa, as I talked about the American dream, my grandpa grew up in a one-bedroom house. And he tells me the story of having to climb up the ladder and go sleep in his bed and waking up in the morning with snow on his blankets. And when he would walk to school, he would walk past some of the bigger homes in town and say, you know what, someday I'm going to own a house like that. My grandpa carved his empire out of this state. He left a legacy for generations to come. And I want to make sure that's still available for anyone who wants it.
Thank you so much, all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was, again, just a very brief Q&A that was hosted by the Utah Republican Party after the convention vote had happened, after the convention had gavelled out and it was officially over, and just about a minute's worth of remarks there. Since then, he's not been very visible in the media. Vice Chair Jordan Hess has been, and we've actually reached out. We'll have one of the two of them join us on the show next week. But there you have it. Some of the things from last weekend's Republican Party convention, statewide organizing convention, that have been overshadowed by a lot of the media coverage of the booing of Mitt Romney. But those, speak to an interesting future, to say the least. We'll be back with more of For the People right after this.
Better weather, longer days, and the urge to get outside. Spring has sprung. Hi, I'm Jay Broadbent with Alpine Home Medical, and we'd love to help you scoot into spring and enjoy $200 off our high-quality scooters. Bringing wellness home is our motto, so also enjoy $200 off our best-selling lift chairs. For locations and information, visit us at alpinehomemedical.com.
Alpine Home Medical, we bring wellness home.
Visit alpinehomemedical.com.
Welcome back to KVN News for the People. Speaking of Mitt Romney, he was with us here in the studio last Friday, and for those who missed it, we'll get to some of the highlights of that interview coming up in hour 2. There is one last thing I wanted to make sure and crunch in to this shorter segment here in hour 1 before we wrap the first hour up. But we talked last week about this big announcement by Governor Spencer Cox that instead of hosting vaccine clinics, well, they're still going to be hosting vaccine clinics, but instead of just doing that, they're going to quote the governor, start taking the vaccine to you. And one of the ways they're doing this is asking organizations, these could be businesses, employers, churches, community groups, anyone, nonprofits. They're asking people to organize an event. They'll show up with the supplies, the mobile vaccine clinic and all of that, and help promote it. All you have to do is find the spot and organize the day. So they're asking people to do this. You can do this, by the way, if you're a business, employer, church, community group. You want to get a bunch of your neighbors together and turn it into some kind of neighborhood park festival, things like that. You can do that at coronavirus.utah.gov. These are free, and now, of course, the mobile clinics are limited, so don't expect to be able to go in today and have it happen by Saturday. They're going to be a few weeks out on these at least, but it's a really creative and cool idea, and I wanted to just kind of highlight some that have been suggested so far. I reached out and said, what kind of response are you getting on this? Are people lining up to have these? And it's very cool. Now, most of these are along the Wasatch Front and Salt Lake, and I hope that changes soon. I hope people start organizing these mobile vaccine clinics in their own neighborhoods, because it's an excuse to, not only do something good, get people vaccinated, but also we've all been wanting events so bad. Here's an event right here that you can organize for free, other than your time, of course, and the state will send the mobile vaccine clinic, and So some of the events that have been organized so far, according to the task force, I asked for just some highlights. There is a plan so next week in Weber County, there's going to be an event that was organized by a local church working with a local nonprofit, and they're hoping to attract the attention of some in the underserved communities, lower income folks who maybe just aren't that plugged into the news cycle, working 2 jobs, things like that. And they're actually going to host an evening into late night vaccine clinic, which I think is a very cool idea. It will actually go until midnight for those who work odder shifts. And then they're planning in coming weeks an early morning one as well. And to get those folks who go to work and are at work all day, sometimes with a 12-hour shift or even 2 jobs. But they're doing this in the guise of an outdoor, socially distanced festival of sorts. They've invited food trucks, they've invited local bands, and they're just making it a thing. They're making it an event. I think that's a very cool idea. Several churches in the Salt Lake County area have organized vaccination clinics, and then kind of tied that to their own PR, if you will, their own public relations work. And then there was another on the list here that I thought was very cool. A group of students decided that they wanted to work with, this is at a public school, but they wanted to work with their parents and teachers and use the mobile vaccine clinic as an opportunity to do something good for their neighborhoods, those around the schools and things like that, but also to say thank you from all of the students at the school for the support of the neighborhood. I guess this relates to some neighborhood organizing and fundraising around repair of some basketball courts and things like that. So they organized a vaccine clinic as a thank you to the neighborhood. In fact, that's what they've called it. So these are some very cool ideas. There are a lot of others ranging from, again, more religious organizations that have set up vaccine clinics, offered up their parking lots at their place of worship, things like that. There are also a group of business owners along the Wasatch Front that have teamed up and smartly tied this free vaccine clinic to their own spring sales, summer sales, things like that. Nothing wrong with that at all. But they've offered up a parking lot in between all of their businesses as a site for a vaccination clinic, and then they've decided to turn it into sort of a sidewalk sale setting at the same time with food trucks there as well. So people getting creative out there, and I think there's a great idea for the state to be doing this as we see vaccination rates starting to level off a bit nationwide. There are concerns, how long might it take us to reach herd immunity? Were those early to late June projections by the state, by the federal government, too optimistic? Maybe. But if you want these restrictions to go away, if you want life to get back to normal, and if you want everyone to be safe, well, set up a vaccine clinic. It's free. Coronavirus.utah.gov. On the other side, highlights from our time with Senator Mitt Romney and more in Hour 2 of today's show here on KVNU Logan.